I asked an AI to create this scene, and the result honestly surprised me. The people, movement, lighting, and even the tiny reactions looked surprisingly believable. And the most interesting part wasn't even the picture quality. It was whether AI could actually understand what I wanted it to create. So I gave it several difficult prompts designed to expose its weaknesses. And some of the results were much better than I expected. The movement felt natural, and the character actually behaved like a real person. Even the facial expression changed naturally instead of looking frozen or robotic. Then I gave it something harder: people, weather, movement, and real-world physics together. This was the moment I realized this wasn't just another basic AI video generator. The AI behind these experiments is ByteDance's latest video model, Seedance 2.0. And today, we're going to find out what it can actually do. I'm testing it across realism, motion, consistency, audio, and difficult prompts. First, I wanted to know how realistic its people could actually look. I started with a simple human scene, focusing on natural movement and believable everyday behavior. The goal wasn't perfect visuals. I wanted to see how naturally the scene actually behaved. Next, I wanted to see whether AI could make ordinary human interactions feel believable. Small reactions like eye movement, pauses, and subtle smiles can make generated footage feel much more convincing. Then I tested simple, everyday movements, because realistic motion is harder than it looks. The results were promising, but I still needed to test something much harder. Next, I wanted to see whether the camera movement could actually feel professionally filmed. Then I tried a slow push-in, the kind of movement often used for dramatic moments. After that, I tested a follow shot while the character moved through a busy workplace. The next test was side tracking, while keeping the subject naturally connected to the environment. Then I added a camera rotation to see whether the scene stayed visually consistent. But one character is easy. Multiple people moving together makes the challenge much harder. I also wanted to see whether two people could interact without the motion looking artificial. Small object interactions are another place where generated video can quickly reveal mistakes. Watching everything back, I noticed the movement was impressive, but not completely flawless. So far, Seedance looks strong, but the hardest tests are still coming next. Now I wanted to test something much harder. Can AI keep one character consistent? First, I changed the camera angle while keeping the character and clothing exactly the same. Then I moved the same character into a completely different environment. Next, I took the character outside to see whether the identity still felt consistent. The close-up test matters because small inconsistencies become much easier to notice. Then I brought the character back to the original location and compared everything carefully. Side by side, the overall consistency holds up surprisingly well, although tiny differences remain. But consistency isn't perfect, especially when scenes change dramatically between locations. Overall, the reference consistency is impressive enough, but definitely not completely flawless. The visuals are only half the story, because now I wanted to test the audio. Now comes the part many AI video generators still struggle with: believable sound. For the first test, I wanted simple environmental audio matching what we actually see. Then I checked whether individual sounds actually match the actions happening on screen. Next, I tested a rainy environment where sound, motion, and atmosphere all need to work together. After that, I tested whether human speech could feel naturally connected to the scene. The small sounds matter too, because realistic video depends on more than just dialogue. Listening back, the environmental sound feels surprisingly convincing in several moments. But I also noticed moments where the sound didn't perfectly match the visual timing. Overall, the audio impressed me, but I wouldn't call it completely production-ready yet. But the final test is where I expect Seedance to face its biggest challenge. For the final challenge, I combined multiple difficult elements into one single prompt. The first requirement was simple. Several people needed to move naturally at the same time. Then I made every person perform a different action without disrupting the rest of the scene. Then I added moving cameras, because complex motion becomes harder when everything moves together. Then I added weather, reflections, moving people, vehicles, and changing environmental conditions. Even tiny physical details matter when you're trying to make generated footage look genuinely real. Watching the final result, I honestly expected more obvious mistakes than I actually found. But looking closer revealed a few small inconsistencies that were easy to miss at first. That tells me something important. Impressive doesn't automatically mean completely reliable. Now it's time to put every test together and give Seedance an honest final score. For realism, the results were strong, especially in everyday environments and human movement. Motion was another major strength, although complex interactions still need careful checking. Consistency was impressive, but noticeable differences can still appear when scenes change dramatically. Audio impressed me too, especially environmental sounds, but synchronization wasn't perfect every time. Prompt control was strong, but complicated instructions still require careful experimentation and refinement. Putting everything together, I'd give Seedance a solid 8 out of 10 overall. Its biggest strength is combining realistic visuals, movement, and cinematic camera work in one generation. Its biggest weakness is that complicated scenes can still produce small inconsistencies. If you create ads, social videos, cinematic content, or visual concepts, this tool deserves attention. If you want more honest AI tests like this, subscribe because the next experiment gets even harder.